summer is almost over. The nights have started drawing in, and that can only mean one thing. The ice hockey season is almost upon us once again. Welcome to the Cats Whiskers TV EIHL season preview. Myself and Paul and a few friends from teams around the UK will be previewing the upcoming Elite League season. And first, we've got a familiar face looking at Hull.
You might be wondering why a Panthers fan is doing the Stingrays review. Well, that's because I'm going to Hull to be a proper student. I'm delighted to be watching ice hockey, one of my favourite rinks. So let's jump in. Well, obviously they've got Cloutier back as coach, that's great for continuity for them. They've got Bounds in goal, again continuity in that department. He's a good brick goaler coming through. Obviously defence, they've got with 5 import D. They've got Smyth, who'll be a big physical presence. They've got Patcher joining from France. They've got Huttle, who's obviously new to the team but not new to the league because he's played for Sheffield. Didn't play last season though due to injury, so don't know how fit he's going to be. Suderman as well. He's only played 5 games in the last 3 years, so don't know how fit he's going to be as well. They've got some okayish defencemen in the Brit department. Nothing too spectacular. Forwards, they've also got Tender. That's a big re-signing for them. Bring him a lot of goals. Campbell, a more physical forward, give him a bit of power up front. They've got Doucet joining from France. Will he be able to cope with the step up in the number of games that they have to play this league? They've got Muncie, who's not really played at a great level, German 4th, Netherlands, so he might be a surprise package for them. They've got Chamberlain, who's come back from America. How much will that have improved him, we don't know. Also, he'll be out of a cage now. And the Brits are okay in the forwards as well. So overall, I think they've got a good team who'll do well in their rink, but they might struggle on the road in the bigger rinks when they get opened up more. But I think there'll be some good close games in their conference when they're at home and probably away in some of the smaller rinks.
Sam Balm, who is soon to be a real student, covering the Hull Stingrays, who of course he will be being a regular at the most versatile arena this coming season.
If you can afford it, you better not be doing it on our money.
Well, you know, he doesn't have to pay it back until he's finished. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Anyway, going back to what you said, I think he made a couple of good points there. I think they are going to be very good at home. They always have been. It's always been a difficult place to go and get points. Always seem to struggle on the road, and I can't see that changing for them. Sorry, all fans, but I just think you've got your strength at home. I just think you will continue to struggle away.
Yeah, I hate to start off on a negative note and to agree with you, but I think you're right. You know, you look at obviously we'll talk about the other teams later. I think in some places, they're spending what they can afford, aren't they? Which is
it's to be commended, to be fair.
Exactly. Too often you see teams go. There's a lot been said about overspending recently. We won't get into any of that, but I mean it's difficult. We'll touch on Scottish teams in a minute, but you know the teams like basically Edinburgh, Dundee, and Fife, who are going to be obviously in Hull's conference, going to be their rivals. We don't know as much about their team yet. I mean Hull's is finished. It was finished very early, but I worry about them.
I think they might do slightly better. I think Cloutier's learning year on year as coach, and it's the stability they've got as well.
Yeah.
Tendler, quality, going to score a load of points. You know he is. Silverthorne as well, great wingman almost to Tendler. I think he'll score a load of points. Derek Campbell coming back. He knows how they operate. He's played there before. They got to the playoff finals. Don't forget when Campbell was last in the team.
Yep.
I can see them getting into the playoffs, I think. Then it's anybody's guess, but I think they will finish high enough in the league to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Can't see them winning their conference. However, as Sam was saying, a few close games will hopefully bring the fans into Hull Arena, because it's a great rink when there's a few in there. Fabulous atmosphere, and of course they've got one of the best webcasts in the league as well. They get a lot of people watching that. Great commentator in John Fernley, and that is another stream of income for them. And you know, they're one of the teams I really like to see do well, because I like Hull. I like Hull a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I basically I said I want them to prove me wrong, and I hope they go out and do, just not when they're playing us.
As with anyone. Moving on now, we're going to look at Dundee, Edinburgh and Fife. Sadly, we didn't get any volunteers to do some fan previews for them, so very sorry about that. So you're going to have to put with us going through our pitted knowledge, I'm afraid, of the...
I've been revising for hours, minutes, hours.
I think we'll start with the caps first, because I think that's the easiest, because there's not...
It won't take long, will it? No.
A lot of re-signings in the Capitalist team, however, I think 7 imports so far.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, Olofsky back in net. It was a reasonable netminder for them, I thought, last season.
Not bad.
Richard Hartman back as coach. Good player, and seems to get the best out of the minimal budget that he has.
He does. I mean, you know, there can't be a big budget up in Edinburgh again, spending within the means, but we're not talking about that. But I mean, yeah, out of all, as we record this, I think they've only made 1 new signing.
Yeah, which is Reaney from Wichita Thunder. Yeah. But looks from the stats that he's come with, he looks quite a reasonable player. He's done okay in the CHL, so we'll hopefully score a few points for them.
Yeah, he just sounds like he was in Coronation Street in about 1967.
Another big re-signing for them was Curtis Leenweber, who was Leenweber, or I probably pronounced that wrong. Curtis, if you're watching, I do apologise. I thought I saw him obviously when Panthers played up there last season, and really held that team together. They improved when he came into the team, and he's a big re-signing for them.
Yeah, he gave them another offensive threat. I mean, they've lost Yarrolin. So Leenweber is likely to be, you know, a big signing for them.
Moving on to the Dundee Stars, again they're 10 import signings. They've got 1 import still left to sign as we record this, but not a bad looking side actually from the roster. You know, there's quite a bit of quality in there. Obviously, Bill Bagran re-signed, who was part of that top line. They've signed the wonderfully named Jerry Pollerstrom from the Netherlands. Sounds more like a pasta dish, if you ask me. And yes, I did get that from another forum before we start writing in and complaining. Barry McKenzie.
About the joke. Never mind about where he got it from.
Barry McKenzie is as well, an interesting one. Who started off at Cardiff last year after being at Edinburgh. Went to Manchester mid-season and has now joined the Stars on a 2-year deal. I think that's a good signing for them.
Yeah, you know, he brings that bit of experience that they've not necessarily got in their Brits, so it's going to be an improvement.
And of course Mike Whirl as well, re-signing previously at Braehead, also on that top line last season with Bagron and the departed Sammy Reinhan. But you know, he's another one who should weigh in with a few points for them.
He should do, yeah. I mean, I think I can see that conference, a lot of games in that, like last season, you know, being very tight. I mean, for what we can tell about Edinburgh, about Dundee, Fife, Hull, you know, those should all be tight games. And, you know, if Braehead, you know, maybe there'll be changes at Braehead this year. Maybe they'll live up to the potential we thought they got last year. You know, but we'll see. That could be a really, really tight conference.
We'll move on to the Clan in a second. Before that, I want to have a look at Fife. Players. Now, I was talking to Danny Myers last week, and we was having a chat. Yeah, Clang. There you go. We was having a chat about the Gardner Conference and about Braehead. He thinks that Flyers have got a really good shot at winning their conference.
It's the rink as much as anything. You know, if they get a team that can play in that rink in front of those fans, then you know they're going to be in with a chance, because there's no fans like. I mean, if anybody from Flyers organisation is watching and you're doing the webcasts again this year, and please do, for those of us that can't make it up to Scotland, don't bother with any commentators. Just turn it up, just put parental guidance warning on at the beginning and just let the fans speak for you, because the atmosphere is epic.
I mean, I went there a couple of times last season. Phenomenal atmosphere. Absolutely amazing. But looking at their side, Todd Duty, I'm really surprised after his broken knee last season. He's re-signed. I thought he'd go behind the bench permanently. Yeah. Danny Stewart, you know what you're getting with him. Bobby Chamon, who signed mid-season, don't do it. He of course joined mid-season from Braehead. Scored a lot of points for them, and then they've had a few new inputs. Matt Reber, Andy Contois, who's coming from Denmark, so that's really good quality league. Yeah. And the thing you find with Flyers is, although they leave their import signings until quite late on, they're always quality imports that they sign.
I mean, the chances are they've already got them signed. It's just when you announce them. But yeah, I mean, I think with DTM, you know, it maybe might be a bit of vanity. You know, I've still got it. Whether he has or not, we'll see. But if he has, then he's a big player for them, and as the coach. But they look like there's some good quality there. We'll wait and see.
So that leaves just one team in the Gardner Conference, and that is the Braehead Clan, and that is being looked at by Euan Campbell.
Hi, my name is Euan Campbell, and here's a Clan fan's perspective for the season ahead. Last year, Braehead relied far too much on one or two players. This year, we've gone for a much more balanced team. Brought back Ash Goldie, our captain from last year. He was in the top 3-point scorers in the league last year. Along with him, we've got Ed McGrain, who at 35 has got a lot of experience and has got over a point per game in every league he's been at. Offensively as well, we've got Nathan Moon, got 74 games in the AHL under his belt, along with CHL and ECHL experience. A couple of guys that have played some games in France in recent seasons, and Julian Corvo and Shane Lust, both getting a point per game or better. And the other key forward I think this year for Braehead will be Joel Champagne. He's a two-way player, can play both offence and defence, very good in the face-off circle, and at 6'4" could be very useful in a tight corner as well. Defensively, we did struggle last year, brought in a couple of guys that know the league really well, in Kevin Bergen and Chris Frank. They'll bring some toughness to the team, which Braehead haven't had since season 1. On the blue line, I think our star player this year will be Ray Mackayes. He's got some great NHL experience in Colorado, playing 8 games there, and I think will be an outstanding player generally for the Clan this year. Brit pack wise, we have lost out on Farmer, but we've recruited well, with Esders, Toe and Harper all know the league well, along with existing guys like Matt Haywood and Sam Zajac, who are competitive at this level. Goaltending wise, last year was a problem. This year got a solid goaltender in who's got ECHL experience and has made all-star teams and won save of the season in the past. As for the rest of the league, I think Sheffield and Nottingham looked very strong. They'll fight out for the league. I think Cardiff could be a team to watch this year, and I think they'll probably edge it for third, with Braehead and Belfast fighting for 4th and 5th.
So the thoughts of Euan there about the Braehead Clan. I think they could be dark horses, you know.
Well, they can't underachieve as badly as they did last year. Change of coaching. The bringing in of Kevin Bergen, I think, is an absolute masterstroke. After the problems that Finity had in Sheffield last year, there were a lot of stories about the him versus part of the dressing rooms. I think bringing Bergen in probably as a buffer between the two could be a great idea. I'll tell you what I do like about Braehead though.
What's that?
The names.
Go on.
You've got Shane Lust. You've got Scott Arson about on defence. And they're not quite as good. Joel Champagne. I've done them in the wrong order. Never mind.
I hope he's no relation to Scott for his own sake. But in serious, I think going back to Finity becoming the coach, probably not as much pressure as he was under in Sheffield. And I think a good move for him. He has no previous links with the club at all. And like you say, I totally agree. I think bringing Bergen in was a massive stroke, not only from a playing point of view, because he's still a good player, and it looks like he's going to be playing on D for the Clan this season. But again, I think you're right, that liaison between the coach and the playing staff, and looking through their roster, there's some real quality in there. I mean, they've signed on D the Macias from Schwenningen Wild Wings, or XDEL. The previously mentioned Shane Lust from Morsey scored a few goals in the French league. Tristan Harper as well from Dundee, who's been known to score a few points. So, we'll gloss over that, I think. Nathan Moon as well from Springfield Falcons in the AHL. That's a big signing up front, and that created a lot of excitement within the Clan fan base when he was signed. However, I think they overdid it on the netminder a bit, because I think there was a lot of silly rumours about Tim Thomas signing for them, and then when they signed Kyle Jones, it came as a bit of a dance squib.
But was that the team's fault? Really, they didn't say we've gone out and signed Tim Thomas, so they didn't really say we've gone out and signed somebody as good as Tim Thomas.
No, they.
But so. And then you know what it's like. You saw what it was like last season when we signed Anthony Stewart.
Yeah.
Where we're signing an LHL. Somebody comes up with these sort of daft ideas, and then some people go, "Oh, it's only Anthony Stewart." It's not fair on Anthony Stewart. In that case, it's not fair on Kyle Jones. Now he's got to come in and do the best he can, and he might be a good signing for him. He's not. I think there are netminders in our league with better figures. Having seen them, some, but it's what plays in front of him as well.
True.
It's the defence.
True. Well, that's the Gardner Conference. Moving on to the Erdart Conference now. We're going to first look at Cardiff Devils. Sean Phillips takes us through their team.
Hi, my name is Sean Phillips. I'm here to give you the Cardiff Devils segment of the Elite League season previews. Start with goaltending. Dan Lacosta, what can I say? The guy got an NHL shutout. He's going to be great for us. He's probably going to keep us in some games that we probably might have lost the odd goal or two by last year, and he can be the changer. He can be the game changer, and I think he's going to be up there with the top goalies in the league. This is our defensive corps. Last year they sort of kept us in a lot of games when we were struggling with injuries. Josh Batch was great. Mark Richardson, obviously coming in mid-season, was a great boost to us. Adding Brad Plumpton and Adam Ross is going to bring a bit more size to us, and perhaps take the pressure off Max Beerbrier and all those other guys having to step up and mainly get on with playing hockey rather than being fighters, which is what they're not. I think we've even improved on our forwards, which weren't bad last year at all. I think Mac Faulkner and Chris Blight combined brilliantly. Really glad Chris Blight is back. I know everyone gives Faulkner all the plaudits, but without Chris Blight, some of those goals just would not have happened. The addition of the two Andrews, Lord and Conboy, is going to give us a bit more grit in the sort of Tyler Michelle mode, but the Tyler Michelle that turned up for us, not for Sheffield, thank goodness. Got one of, if not the best Brit packs in the entire league. Ben Davis has come back. He's going to be absolutely fantastic. Josh Batch is back. Phil Hill's returned. We've also added to our corps with Matt Myers, who's going to make us a better hockey club, regardless of if he's British or an import. He is a top quality player. Coventry obviously are going to suffer with the loss of Paul Thompson. You guys may suffer a tiny bit with the loss of Ling, Matthew Myers. The Steelers, I don't know. I think they're going to have a year of getting used to Doug. The Giants have obviously had a few issues, so the team that have impressed me most with their recruitment is Finity and the Clan, unbelievably. But as Simsy said at his night with him in Cardiff, that they've put a spanner in the works up there with Finity. So in terms of a league prediction for the Devils, I think that if the great Lord Reagan can maintain our squad for the entire year, we'll have a good challenge at the league. I think we'll definitely crack top 3, and if he doesn't, because he doesn't want to maintain the team, then we will dip and battle for 4th and 5th with Coventry. That's my prediction. Hopefully you enjoyed.
So I think Sean pretty much said it all there for us. Not a lot for us to add. I think two things we should focus on. First, Matthew Myers, massive signing for them. Yeah. Huge loss for us, I must admit, but a really big signing for Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean he's an import quality Brit. There's no two ways of looking at it. It's a player that that we've lost. Corey's had to adjust the team to try and lessen that, but for Cardiff it's great. I think he'll get a lot more time in Cardiff than he did with us, because he's gone from being one of a bit back to the top, I think, of theirs. He's the best British player they've got,
without a doubt. And I think Sean mentioned as well that their netminder Daniel Lacosta, I mean they lost Doyle to Sheffield.
Yes.
Purely, I mean, there was nothing dodgy at all involved in that for me. I mean, they couldn't offer him the university contract. He went somewhere that could offer him that. However, they seem to have put in a better netminder. A guy, as he said, with an NHL shutout. Missed last season because of some university rules, I believe. So he didn't actually play last season. May have played a bit of rec.
Yeah.
But he comes in. Obviously, quality. You don't start in the NHL unless you're a quality netminder. I think the potential is there for him to be the best netminder in the league.
I think you could be right. Yeah, I mean, Doyle looked pretty good.
He looked very good, yeah.
Good. But it all depends on, I think, how the year out has affected him. There's one or two people. We've got Chris Murray, who has had a year out. Chad Huttle. So it depends how that affects them. But on paper, they don't play on paper. But on paper, he looks very, very good indeed.
Well, I think the Big Blue Tent will be once again a tough place to go and get a result. I think again another team, big defence built for that rink.
Yeah.
We'll see how they do on the road. They've generally struggled on the road before, but I think they've got the makings of really challenging this season.
I think, like a lot of other teams out there, they've improved on last season, definitely.
Moving on to the Coventry Blaze. Again, unfortunately, we haven't got a fan who's previewed the Coventry Blaze for us, unfortunately, so you'll have to make do with us again, looking at the Blaze. Sorry, Coventry fans.
It's your own fault.
You seen how easy it is to send videos in? People have, please. Anyway,
we're proving you don't have to know anything.
That's true. He's got a point. So Coventry, obviously new era starting in Coventry with Paul Thompson moving on to Troja in Sweden. However, he seemed to have signed most of the team. I think he's still the director of hockey there.
Yes.
But Matty Soderstrom takes the reins.
Yeah, I mean, he's moved up from assistant coach. I never really understand how it works where somebody has left but they're still signing players. I'm assuming Soderstrom will have been heavily involved in that, or
Well, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't really want to take a job where you're not take a job to be in charge and not be in charge. But again, a team that's looking like they're improving. Adding Michael Henrich, I think, is a big. They've got that big defence in a small rink. It's a game that it's going to be a place people aren't going to want to go, which is what I think they were trying to build last year with the toughness. They had problems with injuries, and Ashley Tate. All right, you can sit here and say, oh, he's too old.
He'll still put the points up.
And he adds a depth that I don't think they've really got in their Brits last year. They've got a lot that are coming up in the same way Cardiff have. A lot of really good players coming up. But somebody like Ashley Tate, he's experienced, he's been there, he's done it all, he's won it all. So he's going to bring a lot of experience to that dressing room.
Tate was one of the ones I wanted to pick out. Big signing for them. Looking at their netminder, Mike Zacharias doesn't come with the greatest of stats when you compare him to other netminders that have joined it, especially in the conference. So I think he's very much a wait and see. But then I think they pulled one right out of left field with the signing of Kale Tanaka from Hull, and it sort of smacked of a cheap. I don't like to say it, but a cheap signing to sort of make up the numbers, because they have got obvious quality going through that team. As you say, the Henrik brothers, Olsen's back, Egner's back. There's some really good players in that side, but Tanaka, again, we'll have to wait and see how he does, but he didn't really impress me that much at Hull last year, and again, a wait and see.
Yeah, this is one of the problems I think of doing shows like this, previews, where you sit there and look at the teams. If we'd have done this a month ago, let's say, or probably longer than that, because again, I think Blaze were another of the teams that had signed a lot of players quite early. They're bringing in people like the Henrich brothers, and you look at them and think, well, they're going to be quite big earners, so they're going to be spending on the team. But it's only when you see the full shape of the team, the whole rounded whole, as it were, that you get an idea of that. And at the end of the day, it's the start of the season, I suppose, more than the end of the day. But, we don't know how these teams are going to perform. We're sitting here, we're looking at stats, we're looking at numbers. We can't get the full picture. And I think, looking at I think the level of teams is a lot more level. There's a lot of teams that at the same sort of level, and I think one of the biggest things this year is who gels first.
Yeah, I think you're actually right. Well, 3 more teams to look at before we finally sign off. Before we do start doing proper shows again. Anyway, our old mate Paddy Smyth. Paddy Smyth, he'll kill me for that. Paddy Smyth. I know, Paddy Smyth will be looking at the Belfast Giants.
Hi there, I'm Patrick Smyth, and Jono contacted me a couple of days ago and asked me to give a Belfast Giants view of the season to come for Cats Whiskers TV, and I said no problem, but he did say it could only be a couple of minutes long, and I could prattle on for a long time about the Belfast Giants, but I'm going to try to cut this short by putting a timer on it. Here we go. Billed as the Giants' new era. We do have a new owner. We've got a new coach in Paul Balm, well known to you guys in Nottingham. But we also have a lot of returning players. When Eddie arrived in Belfast, we already had Mason, Sandrock, Phillips, David Phillips. We had Mark Garside. We had Colin Shields, Lloyd, Keefe. These are Stephen Murphy. These are guys who are well known to Belfast Giants fans, well known to fans across the league, and Eddie really needed to build his team on top of what was basically a sound bedrock. To do that, he's brought in a vastly experienced EIHL man in Calvin Elfring, and also a big stay-at-home defenseman in Cody Brookwell, 6'4", 200 pounds, sort of that big stay-at-home defenseman that we haven't had in many a season. Not since the days of like Terence Sandwith or Chad Allen or This is a guy that we hope will shut up shop at the back. When it comes to bringing forwards, he brought back Kevin Surratt, did brilliantly for the rest of the back end of last season. Maybe didn't push us as far as we wanted it to, but again, unquestionably a great player. And Evan Chevrolet, CV is established both at Coventry and at Belfast. He's been a fantastic player for both teams, and we're trying to replace goals that maybe are lost by Craig Peacock moving to pastures new, by bringing goal scorers and an input. Our Brit core has remained pretty static. We have brought back Kevin Phillips from Braehead on the defensive line, but our Brit core hasn't really brought in anyone to replace Craig Peacock. We have brought in the forward line Chris Hitchens, bit of a power play specialist. Special teams are going to be very important to this 80 team. You can see from the setup. Dustin Whitecotton, guy who scored a goal a point every couple of games in the DEL, who will no doubt will be able to cope very well at elite league level. Balance seems to be, it's very interesting because balance seems to be a key to Paul Eddie's side. He was saying about this on A View from the Bridge podcast, plug. But balance is, you look at teams around the league, everybody seems to have bulked up. There seems to be, Cardiff have really bulked up. They've got some really big players there. They've got 5 import D, which is a real statement of intent by G to sort of turn the big blue tent into a big blue fortress. Push for that title. It maybe has eluded Cardiff for, they came close a couple of years ago when Weller was there and all that sort of stuff, and they had the world record, but they've really developed a team there that looks like it's going to basically bully people but try to really fight for that title. I can't see them getting the league, but I can certainly see them getting a trophy, maybe probably the playoffs. Nottingham, in contrast, have lost a lot of players and only run with 3 import D. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Stevie Lee. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the ice time of Jonathan Weaver, which was managed superbly last season by Corey Nielsen. But when you lose the likes of Fox, that can't be 3 minutes. I'm continuing on. When you lose the likes of Fox, Graham, Ling, these are fantastic players and one of the best Nottingham sides there's ever been. It's no wonder they won the treble, but can they retain it with the players they've brought in? I'm not so sure. Sheffield are the team to beat. Doug seems to be able to learn from his previous seasons. If he sees his shortcomings, he has really stacked his team. You look at Doyle in goals. Cardiff's loss, no fault of their own, is certainly Sheffield's gain. Cone looks a brilliant player. They really are a team to be, a big team, a very skillful team. There's going to be a lot of goals there, and it's going to be very difficult going to the Motorpoint Arena to take on Sheffield. Let's wrap this up quickly. You got Braehead. Finnerty's put together a great team up there. It'll be very interesting to see how he gets on. There's a lot of really good subplots going on in this league with Paul Eddie in Belfast, trying to prove himself back in the elite league. You've got Christensen trying to prove himself in Sheffield, that it wasn't just a one-hit wonder in Belfast. Nottingham trying to retain. Soderstrom trying to establish himself as a coach. You got G trying to, as I say, trying to bring Cardiff back to the forefront, and the really brilliant development that's going on in Scotland. It's really proven the conference system not to be as bad as I thought it was going to be. All in all, it's going to be a really, really exciting season, and I actually can't wait for it to start. So yeah, thanks very much, guys, and I'll catch you soon.
Paddy there, good value as ever.
Yeah, but it did sort of start like a video for a dating agency. Hello, my name's Paddy Smyth, and I'm a Sagittarius.
I couldn't tell you what star sign he is, but no. Paddy, write in and tell us. Good, a good concise preview there by Paddy. For Paddy, yeah.
For Paddy, yeah.
But I think he's right. I mean, very interesting with AD going there. I think they're a team I really can't call. I really don't know how they're going to do. AD is a completely different coach to the one that left us a few years ago. He's been in Europe. He's done very well in Italy, and now he comes back and brings all that experience to Belfast. I really can't call it.
Yeah. I think for me the important players are Elfring and Brockwell. The defence, you know, they're coming in. They look like they've got a lot of quality there. I mean, you're not a DL defenceman if you're not any good. But I think the size they're bringing in, I think he was right. Everybody's walking up, so everybody's kind of bigger. But I think they're going to do well.
And Evan Chevry coming back as well after spending a few seasons in France. He's no stranger to the Elite League. He'll put up a few points, I think. And their latest signing, Dustin Whitecotton, come from Straubing Tigers of the DEL. You don't play in the DEL if you're not any good. We know that. We've seen them. So I think
I just said that.
Did you?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening again. But I think he'll do very well there. I think he'll score quite a few points. Of course, our old mate Darryl Lloyd coming back. Let's hope he gets what's coming to him this year. Don't like him at all. Anyway, just two more teams to go, and now we're going to look at the Sheffield Steelers. Yes, the person who's doing the Sheffield Steelers preview needs absolutely no introduction.
The Sheffield Steelers, summer of 2013. Quite a change. Now the Sheffield Steelers are used to a summer change. Normally though, that means a change in ownership. Right about now, just a couple of weeks before the start of a season, but not this year. Third year of ownership for Tony Smyth and his group. Now the changes in 2013, well, they were behind the bench and on the ice. 2 seasons without a trophy, 2 seasons without a visit to Nottingham in the playoff finals meant that Ryan Finnerty lost his job along with his assistant Neil Abel. Replacing them, well, that comes in Big Doug Christensen, formerly of Edinburgh and Belfast, and former Steeler, a man who knows how to win a double, Mark Lefebvre. Lefebvre, remember, played for Christensen at his time in Edinburgh. So, a change of coach, and you couldn't get more of a chalk and cheese difference between Finnerty and Christensen in size, in demeanour, in presence, in personality, in the way the game should be played. Who's right, who's wrong, only time will tell, but you're certainly seeing a big shift in philosophy at the Sheffield Steelers. Now, Christensen has brought his own people in. He's made lots of changes, and we'll take a look at those changes, and you tell me at the end of this whether you think the Sheffield Steelers are stronger or weaker, have more of a chance to win, or perhaps struggle. I think they have more of a chance to win. Let's take a look. Let's start off with goaltending. Out goes John De Caro after 2 seasons. Big John took a lot of flack. I like De Caro. De Caro bailed the Sheffield Steelers out a lot more than he actually let them down. But De Caro was a blame culture figure. Lots of people like to use him as a blame figure. But he departs now. Who comes in? Frank Doyle. Remember that name? Yeah, he's the guy that Coventry Blaze thought they'd signed. Then the Cardiff Devils had signed him. But unfortunately, Cardiff couldn't get him the right educational package. He wanted the MBA programme. It wasn't the right course. He became available on the open market, and Big Doug swooped in and took Frank Doyle. Doyle, supposedly, is a stud. Somebody to rank against Craig Kowalski. And the Sheffield Steelers need that A1 goaltender in those big A1 games if they are going to succeed. So, De Caro out, Doyle in. Up or down, we'll decide in a short while. Defence has changed. For the first time since 2004, there'll be no Rod Savage patrolling the blue line at the Motorpoint Arena. The longest serving Sheffield Steeler has departed. Still lives in Sheffield, still around. Will he still play a part in the club? I've got a chance he might be back. I wonder whether Savic has played his last game for the club, but right now he's not in the lineup. The other departing defenceman, well, that's Jorgensen. He was on a 2-year ticket, but he decided to clear off to France. I don't think he'll be a huge loss. He was a little inept after his move from Braehead. Never really found that same kind of form. Horrific injury as well. When he came back, he was behind the pace. Don't really think that's a loss for the Sheffield Steelers. Now, he is replaced by Chad Langley. Remember him of the Belfast club. Well, Langley does offer a little bit more mobility, offers a little bit more offence, and is a little bit more of a two-way player. So I would say, tick. As a positive, the Sheffield Steelers improve on that trade with Langley replacing the aforementioned Jorgensen. Almost forgot his name. That's how much of an impact he made. Somebody who did make an impact in his 2 years, though, was Matt Stevenson. And Stevenson, like Savic, now depart. Stevenson was a dual, absolute American League defenceman. Never let the club down. Good player. Like him. Be a tough one to replace. But the Sheffield Steelers have gone for Gord Baldwin and also Dustin Cohn. 2 American League stroke NHL defencemen. Steve Munn-esque, if you like. And you can never have too many Steve Munn-esque defencemen, can you? So the Sheffield Steelers are a little bigger at the back than they were last year. They're probably a little bit more defensive at the back than they were last year. But they're probably not as offensive as they were from the back end last year. And whatever you like Savic or not, and Savic was Bovril, you either loved Savic or you really didn't like him very much. I have to tell you, Savic's points from the back, especially on the power play, and that connection he had with Jeff Le Guy, is going to be very, very hard to replace. So are the Sheffield Steelers better defensively? I think they are better defensively. I think they'll concede fewer goals. I think they'll be a lot more structured. I think they'll kill penalties better. So defensively, I think the Steelers are better. The forwards. I wish Jason Lafreniere was coming back to the Sheffield Steelers, possibly the greatest Steelers forward in my humble opinion. Well, Doug Christiansen has made lots of changes up front. He's got players out, he's got players in. His first move of the summer was to remove Ashley Tate. Who removes Ashley Tate? 39, yes, he may well be, but he's in the prime of physical condition, an outstanding competitor, Super League experience, and has got over 20 goals. What are you, crazy, Doug? Sorry? He signed Robert Dowd, the golden child, probably the only player that you would replace Ashley Tate for. Dowd comes back and probably is the biggest impact summer signing that any of the 10 Elite League clubs has made. Welcome home, Robert Dowd. The other British change, of course, is Lee Esder's depart. He heads up to Braehead with everybody's good wishes. But in comes Aaron Nell. Remember him? He comes from the parish of Swindon. Scored 617 goals last year in 15 games for Swindon, but can he score at the Elite League level? Against better defencemen, bigger, stronger defencemen with fewer opportunities. Well, Doug Christiansen obviously thinks he can. So Aaron Nell comes in and you watch him find a place on the Steelers' top 6 and watch him find a place on the Steelers' power play. He comes in as Esders departs. Now, he's not, of course, the only change because out goes Simon Ferguson, out goes Tyler Michelle, out goes Sean Limpride and out goes Scott Champagne. Scott who? Yeah, Scott Champagne. I don't remember him either. No. Anyway, they go out, but in comes Maxime Lacroix. He's supposedly there to help Le Guy out on goal scoring. In comes Stefan Meyer. He's the guy to replace the likes of Ferguson and Michel, that American League tough guy, plenty of character, plenty of grit, and if you check out on his Twitter, the hottest wife in the Elite League, so we are told. Always important when recruiting. Good one, Doug. The other players coming in, of course, is toughness. Tim Spencer. The Elite League's got a lot tougher this year. Not just Coventry and Cardiff, but the Nottingham Panthers have brought in toughness. Belfast will have toughness. A lot of toughness in that conference. So the Sheffield Steelers signing of Tim Spencer is an important one. The final signing, Ryland Gagliardi. A nightmare for all announcers. Could be worse, could be in Cardiff trying to pronounce Max Rabea. Anyway, the Sheffield Steelers have a lot more grit. As I said earlier, they don't have that offensive powerhouse signing, that super offensive guy to help Le Guy out, that Joey Talbot, if you like. The Steelers have been searching for him longer than England have been searching for a new Botham or Australia searching for a new Shane Warne. No, there's no Joey Talbot this year, but the supporting cast perhaps is better, is stronger. Perhaps gives the Sheffield Steelers more depth and hopefully, or from our point of view, gives the Sheffield Steelers a better chance to win. Maybe a better chance to win the league, the Challenge Cup, the playoffs and their own conference. 4 trophies. Now that's a proper Grand Slam.
David Sims there, struggling with the instruction. Keep it to 2 minutes or so, please, Dave. And mind you, I also wish they'd re-sign Jason the Frenier, because he must be knocking on about 50 now. I wouldn't mind that. In all seriousness, no. They have got quality going all through that roster.
I think they have. I think, for me, they're the team to beat. They're in places where they've lost people, they've improved. So I think they've also got the only other person in the world whose first name is Rylan.
Yes, yeah. Could be an interesting celebration if we.
You like the X Factor, don't you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, love it. Yeah. I think their defence is where their strength is. They go from the netminder Doyle, who looks a real good netminder, through the defence. When you're looking at the likes of Danny Mize and Mark Thomas at your 5th and 6th defenceman, there's some quality there.
Yes, yeah, and that's always been the thing for the Steelers teams that won stuff. It was the defence, because it's defences win your titles. Forwards win your games, defences win your titles.
But looking at the forward lines, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, they still don't look that strong up front. On paper, I disagree, because we all know the quality of Legway. Yeah. He's a great player. But then you look at Maxime Lacroix. I mean, he looks. I thought when they signed him, I was like, whoa, that's a seriously good signing. And okay, they lost the guy Menai, who didn't want to come in, but I think Lacroix's an upgrade on him, to be honest. I mean, I know Menai scored a lot more goals, but Lacroix's done it at a high level. Yeah, he's coming in from Denmark. That's decent quality, and they've got quality throughout. They're going to be tough to beat. Very, very tough. But of course, that leaves one team: the Grand Slam winners, the Elite League champions, the Challenge Cup winners 4 times, the playoff winners 3 times. It is, of course, the Nottingham Panthers, and Block 15 blogger Lee Sims looks at those.
My name's Lee Sims, and this is my preview of the Nottingham Panthers season. It doesn't seem that long since the last season was over and Panthers completed a historic Grand Slam and a First League title for however many years it was. However, things have all changed over the summer at the NIC. Not many of last year's star imports have been retained, deciding that using this last season as a step forward to things bigger and better. We have at least retained Kay Wall in goal, which is a big start, and star D-man Eric Werner, along with Matt Francis and Brandon Benedict up front. Apart from that, our key Brits remain the same, with the exception of Matty Myers, who's left and gone to Cardiff at a move that's going to be a huge blow for Corey and a fantastic coup for Cardiff. My player to look out for this season is Lee Salters. I feel that he can do a job. Left by Matty Myers, get a bit dirty, but has shown potential to score some goals. Lynn Loynes will surely win the award for player name of the season, and I think people might well be looking towards Bob Wren to do a job very similar to that of Ling last year. However, it is my concern that we haven't replaced the 70 goals scored by Ling and Graham last year, and with a Continental Cup campaign beckoning, it could leave us a bit stretched. In the rest of the league, I hate to say it, I don't like to say it, nor do I want to say it, but after laughing at the signing of Tim Spencer, Sheffield have come up trumps with some fantastic signings. If Doug can get them to gel, unfortunately, I think they're my tip for the title, although we'll run them all the way. Look out for Braehead in the Gardener. Finity's moved away from his goon squad and done well, and my tip for the playoffs this year is Cardiff, who have recruited fantastically. Nottingham will win a trophy, but I do feel it's only going to be the Challenge Cup this year. I hope they prove me wrong.
Thoughts of Lee Sims there, so he reckons just the Challenge Cup.
Who knows? I think we're in a situation we were in this time last year. He's right about one thing. It's a disappointment, a worry that how few of the players, the imports that have come back from last season,
but after winning what they won, I don't think it's that surprising. They're always going to look for that better deal, with a far improved CV. Let's be fair.
But a lot of the things we talked about is continuity, and we haven't got that. But having said that, I think the imports that we have got, Kowalski, Werner, Benedict and Francis, are all very, very important players. We haven't replaced those goals of Ling and Graham, but we've replaced the engine. I mean, Ling was massively important, and I think we'll be looking to Bob Wren to be the replacement of that. But I think we're in a situation we were in this time last year. It was a suck it and see sort of team. We'll see how we go. And I think, again, the quality's there. I think we've got less NHL games this time because Ling had got so many last year. But what we have got is more at a higher level below that. So you've got Wren, who's played, loads of DEL games. Got Loynes, Caprero, who I think could come out as I think Caprero could come out as the surprise package for us this year.
I think the big player for us this season is actually an existing player, Robert Lakovic, improving year on year. And I think not that I want to put pressure on him, but I think this is going to be a big breakout year for him. I think he is going to be one of our top forwards.
I think you're right. I think he's been on that. It depends who he plays with, whether that line clicks. And the way if he gets on a line like that, the Benedict, Ling, Graham one last year, they did play together. It's a while ago. If he gets on a line like that just clicks, then he's if he's got two people working for him, making him the room, then he'll get plenty of goals.
So I mean, one thing I really do hope is there's not massive expectation. You don't win three trophies in a season every single year, and I think after the previous two seasons, of course, we won Playoff and Challenge Cup. Expectation is really high. Now, I was having a look back at the Elite League, and there's only one team who's retained an Elite League trophy, and that's Coventry. No one else has managed it. Now, I'd love us to go and retain that title, but I think every team has pretty much improved, especially in the Dark Conference. It's going to be tough.
I think it is. I think we're going to struggle to retain it. I think we're in with a shout, along with across all the trophies. But I think we'll struggle.
Well, we shall see.
I started on a negative, and it looks like I'm finishing on one as well. Great.
Right. Well, no, not quite. I'm going to ask you to put your neck on the block. So, based on what we know now, and of course, it's only on paper, we haven't seen them on the ice, who do you think is going to win the league on the evidence that we have at our disposal at the moment?
Can I not tell you in 2 months?
No, tell me now.
Sheffield, sorry, but Sheffield.
And I'd have to agree. I think, looking at it, I think Sheffield have got the most quality going through their squad, and I think if they click, they are going to be very, very difficult to beat. Dark horse?
Probably Braehead coming out the other conference.
Yeah, I think Braehead as well. I think they would be a dark horse, but I am actually going to go more for Cardiff. I think they are going to be a team to watch this season.
I think they're going to be a team to watch. I think they'll improve. Unless I think that whole Earhart conference will be a lot tighter than it was this year. It became in the end just us and Belfast at the top. I think all 5 teams could be pushing right up there.
Well, that is it for our season preview. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who contributed. We really appreciate your efforts there. Thank you very much. We will be back week commencing the 2nd of September. We'll be looking back at the Amiens friendly, and we'll be looking ahead to the first weekend of the Elite League season. So until then, goodbye.